But it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
Hello and welcome to the final score, where if it's happened over the past week in sport, we're going to be talking about it here on upstart.net.au. I'm your host, Val Febo, here with you, and Joel Frucci is with me, Outsider 90 editor, and one of my co-hosts on Breakpoint Podcast. Joel, how are you going?
Great, Val. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. It's good to see you again after missing last week. Thanks again to Rudy Edsel for hosting the show for me, and he's not here today, unfortunately. Not feeling too well, so we hope you're feeling better, mate, and Ryan Tennyson also not here at the Herald Sun today, so hope you're doing well there, mate. And Joel, we'll start with you though. Moment of the sporting week.
Well, I've got an athlete of the sporting week, Dylan Alcott, Aussie wheelchair tennis player. He's won 2 gold medals at the Paralympics in the doubles with Heath Davidson and in the singles also. So we had Todd Woodbridge on Breakpoint Podcast on Wednesday, and he said one of the most inspirational, driven guys you can meet in the sporting world, and you've got to agree.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And he seems like one of the nicest guys as well. So really, really good to see. And Australia's done quite well in the Paralympics as well, better than the able-bodied athletes. So
yeah,
very proud of them. Josh Schonafinger is also here, making his final score debut today. Intern for Collingwood Football Club at the moment, and has interned for the Kings 11 Punjab in the Indian Premier League cricket competition. Josh, thank you for coming on the show late notice today. Brilliant to have you on.
Thanks, mate. I've got some big shoes to fill, those names that you just mentioned, but I'll do my darndest.
Oh, I'm sure you will, mate. And what was your sporting moment of the week?
It's a bit of a selfish one for me. I'm a long-suffering Leeds United supporter, and we had a win over Cardiff City on the weekend, so I just thought I'd bring that to our attention, and we're now ingrained mid-table, which is where we'll stay.
I think it was a supporter event that just mid-table.
Yeah,
as a Leeds fan.
Yeah.
Got to be happy with that. And Josh Campbell, another one of my co-hosts on Breakpoint Podcast, is here as well. How are you going, mate?
Not too bad. Great to be here.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you. And what was your sporting moment of the week?
Tom Papley, as a first-year player for Sydney, kicking 4 goals in that semi-final, giving them a massive edge against Adelaide.
Yep.
Him, and along with Isaac Heaney as well. They've just been phenomenal for Sydney coming through. So, good. They're in a prelim final against Geelong, so we'll see how they go.
Well, Sydney's got some unbelievable youth, and as you said, Heaney, Papley, George Hewitt,
Callum
Mills, unbelievable. My sporting moment of the week, my sporting moment of the last 2 weeks, because I missed last week, is Richmond going undefeated in finals for the first time since 2012. Because they didn't make it, but I'll take that any way that it comes.
I don't think they're going to be losing finals for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I hope not. Either way, I hope not. But let's move into the agenda, though. The AFL takes centre stage again. And, well, the Western Bulldogs, sons of the West, red, white and blue, they came out snarling Bulldogs through and through. They knocked off the Hawks. Bye-bye, Hawthorn. It's probably the worst way that the Hawks could have gone out, really. Straight sets, losing to Geelong after the siren. Isaac Smith would be kicking himself now.
People are calling it the end of an era, but I'm really looking forward to see how they hit back, actually. Next year's going to be really interesting for the Hawks.
Me too. And, after this year, well, Jaeger O'Meara has famously announced this week that he wants to go to Hawthorn, and Tom Mitchell from Sydney looks like he'll be going there as well because he doesn't want to take a pay cut. So Hawthorn could get 2 really good midfielders there, maybe to replace Hodge and Mitchell, possibly, if they should retire at the end of next year.
As an Essendon fan, the Jaeger O'Meara noise is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
I want them to come to the Bombers.
Yep.
But Mitchell and O'Meara, they couldn't have gotten 2 better midfielders.
Yeah,
especially
so
Mitchell
not
tough.
there, not 100%
No, he's not
yet,
confirmed, but if he's to come to Hawthorn, he's a phenomenal midfielder.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And as a Sydney fan, you've seen how tough he is.
He was excellent on the weekend.
Yeah, his first game as a Sydney, I think he had 28 disposals and like 9 tackles.
Brilliant.
He's phenomenal.
Brilliant. But also, 107-84, the Western Bulldogs, their first win over the Hawks since 2010. First consecutive finals win since 1961. That's the year they made the grand final, the last grand final they made. So the Western Bulldogs, it's a feel-good story, and I think it made everyone that wasn't a Hawthorn supporter happy. And I was there on Friday night, 87,700, 800 people.
Yeah.
Like, the roar was just phenomenal. It gave me goosebumps. And just the way that the Bulldogs play, they just move the ball quickly. It's tantalising to watch, and I think most teams should look at the blueprint of the way that the Bulldogs play and play that style of football. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah, well, I mean, they looked a bit nervous in the first quarter at least. Second half, they kind of settled down a bit. But that third quarter, the premiership quarter, they absolutely blew Hawthorn away. And just quietly, guys, Marcus Bontempelli, how good was he? That was, young age, obviously, but that was the best game of his career. And I think it's safe to say that he's not a future star. He is a star.
Barring serious injury, he will win several Brownlow medals throughout the course of his career.
It seems like he'll at least get one.
He has to. He's just that phenomenal of an athlete and a player. He's got such a great mind for the game as well.
Oh, yeah, he does. He reads it so well. But I think one key pivotal moment of the game came in the second quarter. Bulldogs were down by, I think, 15 or 11 points. And Bontempelli outmuscled Hodge inside the forward 50 and to take a contested mark, kick the goal, and I think put the Dogs 5 points down. I think that said, I'm Marcus Bontempelli and I'm here.
You could see Hodge had no idea what to do, just getting outbodied off the ball and taking mark. When he went to stand on the line, he looked like a face, had no idea what had gone on. He's just a new up-and-rising player, and he's playing phenomenal football.
They had no passengers down the Bulldogs, and I thought there were some really good stories. Clay Smith was one. He's had
a couple of goals.
Just a horrible run of luck with injury, and kick some and really good goals too, by the way. I thought that was great to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of first-year players, how incredible was Josh Dunkley?
Oh, he was good too.
Up forward, he took a fantastic marker in the second quarter.
Yeah.
He led kind of their resurgence.
Yeah, well, he missed one, and then he I think he was 3-7 from set shots to put on the big screen, and then kicked one about a minute later to get the Dogs back on track. But also, if you look at guys like Liam Picken, 3 goals. It's the most goals he's ever
mark
kicked.
He took going back with the flight, where he clashed heads with Liam Shields.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
They personify courage, the Bulldogs, with their tackling pressure.
Well, Caleb Daniel, brilliant again.
Yep.
Jack McRae had 39 disposals. Just brilliant. And they were so hard at the ball. The Hawks tried to bully them. They tried to start fights. And Hodge and Mitchell were being their traditional selves and trying to upset the Bulldogs. But it didn't work. The Bulldogs were more than up for the fight. Jake Stringer with 3 goals. And that snap around the body in the third quarter to put them 20 points up. Sitting at the punt road end with the Bulldogs faithful. The roar was... I've only heard one roar bigger than that. And that's when Richmond ran onto the ground in the 2013 final series against Carlton.
And BT calling the goal.
Oh,
that was also slightly louder.
that would have been brilliant. But yeah, they were just phenomenal, the Western Bulldogs, and deservedly go through to a preliminary final where they'll play GWS on Saturday night. But it's either way. I think the stories, and I know a lot of people are saying, I think you're one of these people, Joel, about the Giants, being gifted things by the AFL. But
yes.
I think either way, it's a good story. Seeing Stevie J v maybe Geelong in the final, like seeing GWS getting in their 5th year would be amazing. But the Bulldogs, what a feel-good story that would be going into a grand final.
Yeah, well, like you said, Val, I think it is I acknowledge the feel-good story about the Giants. But having said that, the Bulldogs were, I guess, a victim of GWS's inclusion. And not only, they lost Callan Ward to the Giants. Ryan Griffin eventually went there. But, aside from that, they were a club in crisis not long ago. Brendan McCartney gone. Ryan Griffin gone. Yeah, Simon Garlick. They were in chaos.
Yeah.
And I would love nothing more than to see them in the grand final.
And they gave up a lot for Tom Boyd as well.
Yeah, they did. Well, Griffin was part of that deal. But also, Luke Beveridge, for me, in my opinion, I think he deserves Coach of the Year. Just for what he's done with this team, with the injuries that they've had.
Yeah.
Mitch Wallace, Jack Redpath, and it's just unbelievable. And Robert Murphy. And the thing is, if they get to a grand final, I'll feel so sorry for Robert Murphy because he's their spiritual leader. And to do what they've done without their captain, that's just a brilliant football club. And he has gelled this team brilliantly. And for me, he gets Coach of the Year for sure. And also, this is what he had to say after the game on Friday night at his press conference.
We did feel like we gifted the Hawks a few goals early and obviously missed a few ourselves. So we felt like we were creating the opportunities and maybe playing into Hawthorn's hands a little bit and giving them a couple of easy bites at the cherry. And so we did hold our nerve, and our players did. You could tell their emotions were in check, and I suppose it gets back to that belief in what they know that they can do.
Yeah, and belief was so massive on Friday night, and I was proud to watch the Bulldogs there, and it's also good to see their supporters have been long suffering, and all my grandparents are Bulldog supporters, and it's great to see just for them because both my grandpas were just extremely happy with what they did, and I rang them both on the next day, and they were both wrapped. So it's great to see for the Bulldogs fans.
I thought it was
as
also a fantastic moment to see Alistair Clarkson and Luke Beveridge.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Giving each other a hug at the end of the game.
Yeah. Good friends and Beveridge was one of his assistants. So
Exactly.
fantastic to see. And moving on to the other game on the weekend, Sydney over Adelaide, 118-82. A lot of expectations going into this match, but bit of a fizzer, really. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than what it was, but Sydney, Josh, your club, they were brilliant.
Yeah, as you said, a little bit of pressure. 4 consecutive finals losses in a row.
Yep.
And our last 2 finals, the Swans' last 2 finals, had only kicked 7 goals in each of those games. So a lot of pressure on the forwards, and they came out and kicked 7 in the first quarter. So that was nice to see them respond. The young guys, as we've mentioned, stood up, and I was overall pretty happy with that performance.
Yeah, they were brilliant, and it was that typical Sydney hard contested footy. They bullied the opposition, and their defensive effort. It was the best attack versus the best defence, and the defence of Grundy, McVeigh, Mills wasn't there, but Aaliyah,
Nick Smith keeping Eddie Betts quiet.
Yeah, Eddie Betts didn't do much. Tom Lynch didn't do much. Josh Jenkins didn't do much, and nor did Tex Walker. He kicked a good goal in the first quarter, Tex, but Sydney were brilliant in that opening half, just to sort of rattle Adelaide's confidence a little bit, because every time sort of later on when they got the ball inside 50, they'd just be bombing it, and Sydney would go up uncontested.
I just felt, especially in the first quarter, Adelaide's tackling pressure really let them down, especially in their defensive 50. I remember there was a particular occasion Isaac Heaney just shoved someone off the ball. Nice and easy, gave the handle off to McGlynn, who gave it to Parker, and Parker kicked an easy goal. I don't know if they came out rusty or they weren't prepared, like after their win over North Melbourne, which was quite comfortable. It didn't seem like they were prepared for the level that Sydney were willing to put in.
Yeah, and after Sydney losing last week.
And all the expectation that had been heaped on Adelaide, a lot of people had Adelaide going in as favourites. So I don't know how they were going into that match, but that first, it was a telling tale, because from that then onwards, it was pretty even for the next 3 quarters.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean...
So you think maybe Adelaide possibly complacent leading into the match?
Possibly, yes. I mean, when you have Josh Kennedy having 42 disposals in a game,
he was
I don't know if you
supreme.
can call complacency, because he was phenomenal. Their midfield in general was phenomenal with Hanbury and Parker, and even McGlynn, who has been kind of shoved to the side a little bit.
It'd be a good story to see McGlynn finally get that premiership. Missed out in 2012, belted in 2014. So for him, it'd be a great story. But also, Buddy Franklin made up for his poor performance against GWS last week.
How is that field kick in the third quarter where he shoved off 2 deflayers and kicked about 55 metres to Kennedy, who set up the goal for Richards?
He was in rare form the other night, and I think prelim versus Geelong on Friday night, Buddy at the MCG, he's done some miracles there before, and I reckon we can see some more on Friday night.
He loves the left side of the field from about 55.
He does, doesn't he? It's ridiculous, and he's a left footer too, so it's just brilliant.
Maybe Geelong just need to put a man right there so he can't lead into that position.
Definitely.
Don't move.
Just set up a zone just with one person right there.
Also, quickly, Rowan and McVeigh. I hope Gary Rowan hasn't done an ACL. John Longmire says that they both should be okay to play.
McVeigh's got the old man injury.
Yeah, and I think Rowan will probably miss. So it's going to be a race for the grand final.
I could see McVeigh probably missing this week, but if they're making a grand final,
he'll play grand final. Yeah, but also Friday night, Geelong Sydney at the MCG. They haven't played there since the 1934 preliminary final when Sydney were named as South Melbourne, and Geelong has actually lost all 3 finals to Sydney South Melbourne, and the last one, well, you can't forget that Nick Davis 4 goals in the last quarter. I see it, but I don't believe it.
Was it Nick Davis? I couldn't quite hear it over the calling of Nick Davis.
Yeah, no, that was a phenomenal game, and Geelong, they've got a bit of revenge maybe to bring out there. But predictions for that match, Joel, we'll start with you.
Look, I think on the bigger ground, I think that's going to suit Geelong a little bit more than it will Sydney. So I think I'm going to back Geelong. But Josh, we're talking off air, and you did say that riding Sydney off. That's the way you like it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm biased, but the Swans have produced some really good performances when they go in as underdogs. They call them the Bloods. I mean, obviously they love to fight and scrap, and so maybe a little bit of rain would be nice for the Swans as well on Friday night. But I think, of course, Geelong deserve to go in favourites. Week off and a pretty healthy list as well for them.
Yep. So you think Cats are going to get up?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And Josh?
As I was going to say, with the 6-day turnaround for the Swans, especially they had a few for the injuries as well. They were a bit banged up, even though they did play really well. How that's going to play into their match. Geelong, obviously, 2 weeks, or 1 week off. But it's been 2 weeks since they've played. I mean, we talked about how coming off the semi-final, especially with the Bulldogs and Hawthorn, how you go into that game playing with the week off and on and stuff like that. But I would probably lean towards Geelong purely just off. I mean, I would say finals experience. Sydney do have quite a bit of finals experience as well. Playing in Melbourne's going to be important. I don't know how great the Swans play at the G, especially in finals.
Well,
times.
they beat Hawthorn this year, but they lost to Richmond, so
I'm
not.
talking especially in finals. Though.
Yeah. So, well, yeah,
I
they
think that's gonna be the
don't have a
biggest
good
factor.
record there. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so you're going Geelong.
I'll go Geelong, and
Yep,
bet it'll be
same,
close.
Same. Yep, I reckon close game, but Geelong to get up in the end. GWS and the Bulldogs at Spotless Stadium. A lot of talk about this. Spotless Stadium, only 24,000 capacity. Should the match be played there? We'll start with you, Josh Schonafinger. Should the match be played at Spotless?
Yes, it should be.
Should be.
It's their home ground.
Yep.
And they've played well there all year.
Only losing to Collingwood.
Yeah, correct. And so I think they deserve, and then we can talk about Geelong and whatever, but I think they've earned the right. It's a new team. Let's see what type of crowd. Let's pack it out.
I think for experimentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that they fill it up, and then we can reassess next year when they will inevitably be in finals again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that one. But I just think, because Jared Waitley was saying during the week that the highest ever attendance for an interstate team at an interstate preliminary final was 8,000. But I think the Bulldogs might pack that out a little bit more, because this is a bit of history for them to see. Maybe they can get that elusive grand final that's been waiting for 55 years and the premiership 62 years ago. So,
well, the Bulldogs do have 19 million supporters at the moment. So I feel like they've got enough to fill out 12,000.
Yeah. So 8,000 travelling fans. Will they get that number?
And your two grandparents are going to be driving up, so
No, I don't think they will.
they're not going to.
Yeah, they'll watch it on TV.
You'll take them up.
Oh, I've got to work on Sundays. But it's gonna be interesting. But I reckon it'll probably pack out the stadium, and hopefully it's not too much. Like the Dogs want to send 40,000 people up there. I was watching the VFL on Sunday that all the people were saying, yeah, we want to send 40,000 fans up there. I don't think they will, but we'll see what happens.
Very busy car park up there.
Who is going to win? Yeah, true. Who is going to win this game, though? We'll start with you, Josh Campbell.
I said it off air. I reckon the Bulldogs are going to win it.
Bulldogs going to win it. Schonafinger?
GWS.
Frucci?
I think the Bulldogs are going to win. Last time they played against the Giants up there, they got beaten by 25 points, but they were missing quite a number of key personnel. So I think new circumstances, preliminary final. I think they're going to do it in the midst of a drought.
Here we go. But I did pick the Dogs last week. I said they'd beat Hawthorn. I wasn't on the show, really annoyingly, because I really wanted to say it. But I did pick this, but I think the Giants are going to get over the line here for their first grand final. So I reckon it'll be Geelong GWS, Stevie J versus the Cats. And this week, though, interesting, Ryan Griffin versus the Western Bulldogs. So that's something we can all look forward to. We'll move on, though, to the NRL. Semi-final action over there. North Queensland denying the Brisbane Broncos again in another close final. They denied the Broncos in the 79th minute. It was the Broncos were up by 2 points. Penalty conversion to Jonathan Thurston, he's just evergreen. He's brilliant, isn't he? And leading to extra time, and then a 6-point win, 26-20. So heartbreak again for the Broncos. North Queensland move through to the prelims again, and Canberra Raiders easily over the Penrith Panthers, 22-12. And that leaves the preliminary final fixture: Cronulla versus North Queensland at Allianz Stadium. Who do we think will win there, guys? We'll go Josh Campbell.
Who do I think will win at Allianz Stadium?
Yeah, Cronulla, North Queensland.
It's difficult. I mean, the Thurston effect involved in every single match. He's almost a god of the sport now.
Yeah. He'll be an immortal, yeah.
Cronulla obviously had that 13-game winning streak.
Yeah.
They'd slacked off towards the end of the season, and in that way, I'm going to probably lean towards the Cowboys.
Cowboys? Josh Schonafinger?
Week off for the Sharks, but I think the Cowboys, especially after how good their final series was last year, I think they deserve probably to go in as favourites, and I think they will win over the Sharks here.
Yep. I think it's going to be close. And Joel?
Tight, but I think at the end of the day, I think home advantage for Cronulla will get them over the line.
Cronulla, I'm going for North Queensland. I reckon they're going to get up with the Jonathan Thurston effect, as you said, Josh. So, yeah, I reckon that will be that'll be an interesting game there. But Saturday night is the one that all Melburnians will be watching, apart from maybe the AFL. But Storm versus the Canberra Raiders. They met a few weeks before the finals. The Raiders getting that done at GIO Stadium by 16 points, sorry. But, Joel, predictions here. Will the Storm win and get into the grand final?
Here's hoping. They've had a week off.
Yep.
It's at home.
Yep.
Hopefully there's no mental demons there from that game at GIO Stadium, guys. But, Storm are just packed out with stars. So,
definitely.
Storm to get up.
Storm, Josh?
Really looking forward to this game, especially because the Canberra Raiders have vowed to come down in numbers and do their Viking clap
That was
at Amy Park.
That was awesome.
It's really caught on after the Iceland football team. But I just think the firepower of the Raiders under Ricky Stewart is going to be really tough. Jordan Rapana has 22 tries this year, and Jared Croker has 18. So if the Storm can somehow shut them out and get over the top, it'd be great. But it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
I think the Storm may be just.
Storm just. Josh?
Well, I said on the broadcast last week that the only team that I could see challenging the Storm at home
Was Canberra.
And I'm going to tip the Storm because
Gonna tip the
I
Storm?
don't listen to myself.
Yeah. I'm going for the Storm as well. I reckon
Actually,
they'll learn from last time.
Yeah, I was
And
going
they'll
to say with the timing of the game, it being at 7:40, that the Giants Bulldogs game on that Saturday is at 5:15.
Yeah,
so
that's
it does
good.
line
Yeah.
up perfectly.
Nah,
You've
that
got
does.
back-to-back games.
Yep, definitely. I agree. But that's it for NRL. So hopefully we'll see the Storm in a grand final. Will be absolutely brilliant. F1 though in Singapore, we'll go to the race there. It was an interesting race last night. The first 10 metres caused a lot of carnage with Nico Hulkenberg clipping Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso and pretty much going straight into the sidewall. Safety car came out after that time, and they were using the pit lane because the pit straight was being used to clear out Nico Hulkenberg's car. So it was an unbelievable start. But Nico Rosberg got the win last night. Daniel Ricciardo just missing out on the win.
I think he was 22 seconds off Rosberg.
Yeah, and
with
then
about 12.
Well,
laps to go.
it was great / poor strategizing from Mercedes because they pitted Hamilton in to try and undercut Raikkonen, who was third, and that worked. But then Red Bull said, we'll try that and try and undercut Ricciardo and Rosberg. And Rosberg was going to come in and try and cover the pit stop. But what happened was he got stuck in traffic, so it would have made it slower.
Yeah.
So Ricciardo would have actually beaten him. So they left Rosberg out. And in the end, Ricciardo got stuck in a little bit of traffic just before he caught Rosberg, and it cost him in the end. So it was only 0.4 seconds that he finished behind by. Very, very, very close.
Everyone talks about in Formula One how it's like, if there was another lap in the race, he would have won. If there was another lap in that race, he would have won that.
Maybe another 2 laps, but definitely.
Wait, it was 0.4 seconds when he came across that line.
It's so hard to overtake in Singapore, though, so you've got to get it all just right. I think
if you had got that DRS activation zone at the right time in that next lap, I reckon he would have won. But
it would have been very close. But Hamilton finishing in third, Kimi Raikkonen for Ferrari fourth, and Sebastian Vettel. What a race from him. Starting last in 22nd on the grid, finishing fifth. So up 17 spots. But it was such a good race, and Daniel Ricciardo very, very pleased with the second spot. And this is what he had to say in the post-race press conference.
I enjoy the track a lot, and I felt like I was finding the limit, but I wasn't quite on the limit with the car. I felt we still had to improve some things. Last night I said that, and I still felt this morning we weren't quite there. So made a few last-minute changes before quali, and it helped me out. So that was good, and happy. Front row, we split the Mercedes, and I think we can put some pressure on him tomorrow.
Yeah, he was very good, and seriously, I think if they can put him in a good car, and the Red Bull's not a bad car, they're sitting second in the constructors, but I think if he was in a Mercedes right now, I'd love to see what he'd be able to do, because it would be truly special, don't you reckon, Joel?
Yeah, well, wouldn't that be good? He'd be on the front row every week and probably getting a 1-2.
Well, to get a front row in the Red Bull, which they said Red Bull were probably the favourites for the race, given their sort of performance at the street circuits as they did in Monaco. I reckon to get the front row of the Red Bull, that's a stunning drive, and to almost pinch the win from Rosberg, it was a really, really good result.
Yeah, and Dan Ricciardo's has done pretty well in Singapore.
Yeah.
So add that one to
I think
the tally,
third podium in a row.
Yeah.
The Red Bull
that's
car in
it.
general always have been well in Singapore.
Yeah, they definitely have, yeah. But also, quickly, Fernando Alonso starting from 9th on the grid, got into Q3. At the first corner, he was up to 5th and finished 7th, so it was the best of the rest, really, with Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes finishing 1 to 6, so the top 3 constructors. But great drive from him. He's won Singapore twice, so I do love Fernando Alonso. I got a soft spot for him. Wish he was still at Ferrari, but...
just needs a decent car.
Yeah, I know. Well, I still think he's the best driver out there.
I still think
I know you think Dan is,
Yeah.
but I reckon Alonso, if you put him in a Mercedes, he would either wipe Hamilton or Rosberg.
I would
off
love
the
to
track.
see those two 1 and 2 at Mercedes.
Yeah, so would I.
That would be a phenomenal
Yeah.
season.
I would enjoy that season because I really do like Rosberg, and Hamilton really irritated me last night. They show after the race in the room just before they go on the podium. And you can see all the conversations. Ricciardo and Rosberg really happy, congratulated each other. Even the Mercedes constructors, one of the higher end people at Mercedes was in there, congratulated them. Hamilton's just standing there in the corner, did not say a word to Rosberg at all when he walked in the room. And I just think that's poor sportsmanship. You guys are teammates. You might not get along, but... And even on the podium when he was spraying the champagne, Hamilton's just standing there spraying it and then drank a bit. And then, yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. And Hamilton and Vettel, I think it's been really poor this decade with seeing those two winning the championships because they've been by far the most arrogant drivers in the F1 for the past 10 years.
I guess the constructors are not too worried about what the persona's like if they're getting the results on the track. So.
Yeah, definitely. But quickly, just before we move on, Rosberg leads the championship by 8 points over Hamilton, overtakes him, so 273 to 265. Ricciardo third, Vettel fourth, Raikkonen fifth, so the two Ferraris in there, and Mercedes can claim the constructors' title next race in Malaysia. They're 538 points, Red Bull 316 and 15 points ahead of Ferrari in third. But we'll move on to the Premier League. It was a really interesting weekend here. Liverpool and Chelsea opened the weekend, and a wonder strike from Jordan Henderson from outside of the box proved pivotal to put Liverpool 2-0 up, and then drawing one back Chelsea did, but unfortunately for them it wasn't enough. But Liverpool, what a win for them. Josh Campbell, that was fantastic.
Well, I mean, I'm not Liverpool one. I'm as an Everton supporter. I don't really want to talk about it that much, but yeah, that Henderson strike was fantastic.
Oh, it was brilliant.
That's all I'm going to say on the matter.
That was brilliant. And Joel, that was were you expecting a win like that for Liverpool?
Yeah, I think I wasn't totally surprised by it. I was more surprised, Val, by the way Chelsea looked quite porous at the back. It was really an uncharacteristic performance of an Antonio Conte side. They really missed John Terry, and you can see from that from Dejan Lovren's opener. I think he was Gary Cahill was left to mark about 5 Liverpool players in the penalty box, and it was the easiest goal in the world.
Not going to happen, yeah. And Josh, what did you think of the whole match?
Oh, well, I think defences, you just touched on it. There's a little bit of talk about that. A lot of teams, and there's been a lot of goals so far, a lot of teams with shaky defences, and a lot of talk about West Ham and even Man United, and now Chelsea as well. So I think seeing lots of goals is great, and that's Jordan Henderson's strike. Wow, outstanding.
Brilliant.
What can you say? I think Liverpool under Klopp, I love Klopp. He's going to be great.
I love Klopp too, and this is what he had to say in the press conference after the match when asked if they were title contenders.
That's actually the same question when somebody asked me when we won 3-1 last time here against Chelsea. And my answer was, are you crazy? Everything is good. We have 10 points. That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. I'm really happy after this difficult fixture. But season is not over. We have to play football. We know we can play football. We are convinced about our quality. That's all the truth. But at the end, we have to prove it every week.
He's always the optimist, Jurgen Klopp, and that's why a lot of people love him. I love his celebrations on the side. He gave about 10 man hugs after the match. He's just brilliant, and he's brought that Liverpool culture out again. And also, Man United losing to Watford 3-1. That is a really bad loss for them. And Jose Mourinho, 2 losses in a row. He would not be happy with that, would he, Joel?
Yeah, well, it's actually 3 losses in a week if you count the Europa League on Thursday night, Friday morning against Feyenoord. But they were really poor. United. Wayne Rooney was completely ineffective.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even Paul Pogba, they're not getting the best out of him at all. And Mourinho's got to do something about this because they're not getting a return on that massive price they paid. He's playing far too deep in that number 6 role. He's got to be almost in behind the striker, in behind Ibrahimovic.
Needs to be like a centre attacking mid position. They're playing him as a CDM. It's not really working for him.
Pogba hasn't been the best. He hasn't been the best, but I reckon he'll find some form. Just quickly, Leicester continued on their merry way with the Champions League win on Wednesday and also beating Burnley 3-0. And Man City continuing their great form with a 4-0 win over Burnley. So the standings sit Man City first 15, Everton second on 13. Joel and Josh very happy there. Tottenham third on 11. They've sort of flown under the radar. Arsenal forever fourth with 10 points. Chelsea fifth on 10 and Liverpool also sixth on 10 points.
Is it Man City's to lose this year?
They are looking
for now. Yeah, they're gelling under Pep Guardiola. Yeah, I think so.
But
definitely.
How amazing has Iheanacho been for them as a striker? He's been phenomenal.
Well, for me, Kevin De Bruyne's been the star. He's been superb.
Yeah, they've been very good, Man City. So maybe they'll take their third title in quite a small number of years with 3 different managers. That'd be really interesting to see. But also, just quickly before we go, the Davis Cup was on this weekend. Australia defeated Slovakia to get back into the World Group. And Nick Kyrgios over Andre Martin, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. Bernard Tomic over Josef Kovalik, 7-6, 6-4, 6-4. Very unimpressive, though. Very unimpressive.
Very Bernie-like.
Yeah, well, Todd Woodbridge actually asked... John Fitzgerald said, "Well, do you think this is nerves?" Because he was up 4-love in the third set and Kovalik got it back to 4-all. And Fitzgerald just said, "No, this is unimpressive." So that's some harsh words from a really esteemed member of the Australian tennis family. So, yeah, not good from Tomic there, but they got through. Thank God they were playing Slovakia, but who didn't have their top-ranked player, Martin Klizan, who's ranked 33rd in the world. But and Groth and Piers won their doubles match against Andre Martin and Igor Zeleny, 6-4, 6-2, 6-7, 7-6. Shaky there as well. And the reverse singles not played. So Australia back in the World Group. Draw will be, I think, Wednesday or Thursday.
Just on that, Val, you might be able to answer that for me, but there's nothing in sport I love more than a dead rubber. So why did they not play these two?
I'm not sure. I actually think they should. Australia's tended not to do that. They don't do that in a lot of ties. There's a few ties where they'll just say if it's 3-0, 4 or 3-1, they'll just stop and don't bother with the dead rubber. But I like how they play it. It gives the players a really good sort of it gives them sort of an understanding of how the Davis Cup should be played. And I think with Sam Groth, the form that he's been in, they probably should have given him the singles match because he's the doubles, he was not convincing. So he really needed to play there. But
could you see Tomic and Kyrgios actually spending their time playing dead rubbers? Because I don't think I could see them doing anything that's not worth money.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, I agree there. But quickly, the semi-finals of the Davis Cup, the main events really, if you like. Argentina pulling an upset 3-2 over Great Britain and Andy Murray and his brother Jamie Murray. Del Potro beating Murray in the first rubber in 5 hours and 7 minutes, 6-4, 5-7, 6-7, 6-3, 6-4. And to win the tie without Del Potro playing the reverse singles, Leonardo Meyer knocking off Dan Evans in 4 to win the tie last night. Wow. That's a big win for Argentina.
Yeah. That's impressive considering the form Daniel Evans has been in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. And also Croatia, one of my countries, defeating France 3-2. Great win there. So they will host Argentina in the Davis Cup final in the last week of November, first week of December. So very, very good for the Croatians there. But that's all we have time for today on the final score. So Josh Campbell, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Val. It's been great to be here.
No worries. Josh Schonafinger, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been great to have you. We'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, boy.
Very good reaction. And Joel Fritchie, thanks for coming on the show today, mate.
Always a pleasure, mate.
Good to have you on. And that's it for the final score today. Hope everybody has a lovely day and a lovely week. I'm Val Febo.
But it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it!